MotoGP 21 is the latest release in the MotoGP franchise, and it is developed by Milestone, and as the name suggests, it is based on the 2021 season of MotoGP. Hi guys, Robbo46 here, and today I'm going to be going through a little review of MotoGP 21. I've been playing it for about a week, so I'm going to dive straight in and talk about, the positives of the game and the negatives. The physics overall, on first glance, it may take a few laps to get adjusted to them. They do feel different to MotoGP 20, but not too dissimilar. So it won't take you too long to, kind of get to grips with it. I did find that turning engine braking fully off really helped with the braking. Otherwise, I found that the bike was just locking up the rear a bit too much, and I was just having moments on the brakes going into corners. So personally, I turned engine braking off and it really helped. Also, taking a more smooth play style really does benefit you on MotoGP 21. Also, the inertia of the bikes feels more realistic, and going through S-bends, it really feels like the rider is having to really force the bike from side to side. The suspension has been rebuilt from the ground up. It reacts in a more realistic way. Obviously, you can adjust the suspension if you want. And again, going on suspension and other things you can adjust on the bike, there are a couple of new additions with the slipper clutch you can now adjust if you wish. The curbs do seem a bit too aggressive. I would like them smoothed out a bit so that you can actually use them, because they do use them in real life, of course. So it would be nice to be able to use them in the game properly rather than losing time. Also, in the rain, the curbs do seem more slippery, which is good because they are in real life. The majority of them are. And yeah, the whole riding in the wet is a bit more tricky this time around. The braking itself is a little bit different to what it was on MotoGP 20. The brakes feel a little bit less powerful. You can still pull stoppies if you're not careful, but it's not as easy to pull stoppies. The rear brake is more like the Ride 4 rear brake, where it is quite powerful, so you have to use it sparingly. Otherwise, you do end up locking the rear up and having a few issues understeering and stuff. But yeah, we'll talk about the brakes a bit more later on. The game looks the best it ever has. It is definitely a step up over MotoGP 20. I've been playing it on the Xbox Series X and the PS5, and the visuals are much, much better than MotoGP 20. And I will be putting out a side-by-side comparison video between the two, and to really show off the new game. And with the Xbox Series X and the PS5, you of course have dynamic resolution up to 4K, and it's at 60 frames per second as well. So yeah, it's really, really good. The loading times have been improved as well. You don't really have to wait too long between different sessions. Feedback from controllers. I was actually really impressed with the feedback from the Xbox controller. I know obviously the PS5 controller has haptic feedback, but the Xbox controller has got quite a bit of feedback as well, more than what it had on MotoGP 20. So you get a lot more vibration, so you can really feel a lot more what is happening with the bike. Another thing with the next gen version, or should I say current gen now, with the Series X and the PS5, is that the online, you can have up to 22 players online now. I haven't actually been able to test online yet, because when I've been playing the game over the last week, the servers weren't online, so I wasn't able to go online and test. And they came online a couple days ago at time of release of this video. But obviously, because the game isn't out, there's no one online to play. So again, I couldn't test the game. Another upgrade to the game is the sound quality. That is definitely an improvement over MotoGP 20. Especially when you are on the starting grid and you're revving the bike ready to go. The launch of the bike sounds a lot better. And yeah, the bikes themselves just sound more lifelike. Still not perfect, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So MotoGP 21, as name states, it includes the 2021 riders and bikes from the 2021 season, including MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3. It will include Moto E and Red Bull Rookies Cup. They will be added at a later date. There are 20 official tracks, and there are over 40 historic bikes and riders as well. And a few more for DLC. So when you start a career mode, you can choose what group to start in. You can jump straight into MotoGP if you want, or you can start in Moto2, or you can start in Moto3, which is exactly what I done. And just like MotoGP 20, you get to choose between an official team. So all the factory and satellite teams are represented. There are still some of the liveries to be updated in Moto3 and Moto2. Or you can choose a brand new team, just like in MotoGP 20. And of course, you get to choose your personal manager, chief engineer, and data analyst, and obviously upgrade your bike and, change your team up to try and get more money and stuff. So bike development is basically the same as MotoGP 20, with electronics being traction control, engine braking, anti-wheelie, and power mapping, frame, engine power, and aerodynamics. So aerodynamics and electronics are for MotoGP only, but engine power and frame you can do in all the categories. And from the get-go, if you start in Moto2 or MotoGP, you can create a junior team as well. I know this was added later in MotoGP 20's life cycle, but it's in the game straight away for MotoGP 21. So obviously you pick a team manager, a technical director, and one rider to begin with, but once you upgrade your team, you can then choose another rider to add. Another cool thing about when you start a career, you can choose to either take on the official 2021 season. So you go to Qatar twice and Portimao and the likes of that, so you don't go to Circuit of the Americas, or you can use the original calendar, which does include the likes of Circuit of the Americas and Termas de Rio Hondo as well. So you get to choose which calendar you actually want to race in. So let's get into some of the new additions to the game. Bike retrieval sequence. So this year you can, if you have it turned off, it is an on-off option. You can just have normal respawn. You can use rewind if you wish. Or you can have the bike retrieval turned on, which is if you crash, you then have to physically get up, go to your bike, pick it up and get going again. It is a good little addition. I do have a couple of issues with it though. First of all, I have given feedback on it already that the rider doesn't run very fast. As you can see on screen now, the run is quite leisurely, quite slow. And obviously, if every second matters, you want your rider to be running pretty quick. And I know that obviously they have levers and helmets and everything on all the rider gear, but it's still surprising in real life how quickly they do run even with all their gear on. Another issue I have with it is that the AI don't tend to do this even if you've got it turned on. I've seen the AI crash and then just respawn straight back on track, which does make it a little bit unfair for the player who is using the bike retrieval. The long lap penalty is finally in MotoGP, and I'm very happy about that. All the tracks will have a long lap penalty section, and if in career mode you go to like the bike development tests during free practice, one of the things you can do is it will give you a time to beat whilst also taking the long lap penalty. So it's a good way to learn where the long lap penalties are, and obviously use free practice to learn how quick you can go through the long lap penalties and try and do a Johan Zarco. Again, I don't know if the AI do this. I haven't seen the AI do it themselves. I've not actually had to do it in a race yet. You get five chances of track extending. So if you go off track limits 5 times, you'll get a warning. If you get 5, you then get a long lap penalty, or if you jump the start, you get a long lap penalty. So definitely something to bear in mind. And another thing to bear in mind, you can also have this as manual or automatic. I've got it set as manual. There is a little slight niggly thing that I have found where some tracks you go into the long lap penalty and the camera angle changes, which is really distracting when you're going in there at what you think is the right angle, and then the camera changes and it really puts you off. Some tracks it doesn't change at all, which is fine. I think that's how it should be. There's no need to change the camera angle. So I think maybe if they could change that back to just not changing the camera angle when you go in, that would be a bit better. Of course, fuel consumption is back. And tyre consumption is back as well. It's very similar to what it was on MotoGP 20, where you obviously pick your tyres, medium, well, soft, medium and hard, and how much fuel you have in your tank. There is a little extra addition with the tyre consumption. When you choose your tyres at the start of the race, it will actually give you a kind of a hint as to which tyre you should use. It will suggest what tyre to use by giving it a little light bulb next to the compound it is suggesting. But it's entirely up to you what compound you use. And of course, brake temperature is another new addition to the game, where you have to try and keep your brakes in the optimum temperature so that you can brake effectively and efficiently. Otherwise, if you cool them down too much or they overheat, then your effectiveness on braking will suffer and you will start running wide and yeah, just not getting around corners properly. So that is another thing. So lastly, I want to talk about the AI themselves difficulty. I've been playing on 120% and have been able to beat them from the get-go in the Moto 3 category. I have been having some really fantastic races with them, but they do seem very inconsistent. There's been races where I've been with, you know, 3-4 other riders and we were literally changing positions every single corner, which is fantastic. And when it works like that, it's some of the best racing I've had on a bike game for a very long time. However, they do tend to crash quite a lot, and they certainly do in the Moto 3 category. And it seems to be the same corners on every lap. That's at least one or two will crash at. And it does ruin the racing a bit, because you can get into a nice battle and then maybe the leader will do something silly like cut a corner and then we'll end up crashing, which does spoil it a bit. So if they can iron those out, then yeah, MotoGP 21 would be even better. So in MotoGP, they do actually seem to be a bit more competent. They still make silly little errors when trying to overtake you and cutting corners, but they do seem a bit more competitive and a bit more consistent in the MotoGP category. So I don't know whether it's just an issue with the Moto 3 AI or if it's going to be throughout. But the MotoGP category seems to be much better than the Moto 3. Yeah, that is it from me, guys. My little review of MotoGP 21. I hope this has helped persuade you. Otherwise, you know, to get the game, it's I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more than MotoGP 20, which is the good thing. And like I said, just a couple little niggles with the bike retrieval and the AI, but if they can sort them out, then they're definitely onto a winner. And you know, get the AI to be competitive, as I know they can be throughout the whole season, then they'll definitely be on to potentially one of the best MotoGP games made to date. But anyway, guys, that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for more content. I shall see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to stay safe, wash your hands, and look after yourselves. See you!